Welcome to another deep dive, and today we're looking at a company, Travelzoo, that's been around since the dawn of the internet, like
Well,
1998. They're navigating the world of metaverses and changing travel trends, which makes you wonder how a company known for email newsletters and good deals stays relevant
right.
in today's fast-paced digital world. That's
Yeah,
exactly what we're here to uncover today.
it's fascinating, isn't it? I mean, their journey is really a testament to adapting to the times,
Mhm.
especially surviving that whole dot-com bubble when so many just crashed and burned.
Yeah, totally.
It's amazing.
Okay, so before we even jump into their metaverse ventures, let's quickly recap what Travelzoo is all about
Sure.
for those who might not be familiar.
Travelzoo is a global internet media company
Okay.
focused on travel, entertainment, and local deals.
Wow.
But they're not just a booking site.
Right.
Their focus is really on curated deals and recommendations.
Okay.
And they've built this reputation for trust and editorial integrity.
Yeah.
They actually have a team that goes in and verifies each deal.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's a refreshing change, I think, from all the endless options and algorithms that most travel sites just throw at you.
Yeah, for sure.
So, how did they manage to ride out that dot-com bubble when so many companies like that went under?
I think their focus on quality over quantity was key.
Okay.
Back then, a lot of dot-com companies were all about that rapid growth,
Yeah.
often sacrificing quality and trust.
Right.
But Travelzoo, they just kind of stuck to their guns, stuck to their curated approach, and they ended up building this loyal audience through their top 20 newsletter.
Oh, you mean that iconic email with the week's best travel deals?
Exactly.
Yeah, I remember those.
It's a simple concept,
Yeah,
but incredibly effective.
for sure.
They've always had this knack for finding those hidden gems and presenting them in a way that just makes you want to book a trip
Yeah,
immediately.
I agree. It's interesting how they've held on to that core concept of the curated deals, while the internet around them has just completely transformed.
Yeah.
And speaking of transformation, they also adopted this asset-light business model.
hmm
What does that mean in practice?
So instead of handling the bookings themselves,
Okay.
they generate revenue through advertising from, travel providers,
Right.
commissions on bookings made through their links, and increasingly through subscriptions.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
So by not dealing with the actual booking process, they keep their costs low.
Right.
That sounds smart from a business perspective,
Yeah.
but doesn't that make them vulnerable to market fluctuations?
It's a valid concern, but their diverse revenue streams, particularly the focus on subscriptions, helps mitigate that risk.
Okay.
And, by partnering with various providers, they aren't solely reliant on any single company.
Interesting.
So it spreads out the risk.
So they're hedging their bets, spreading the risk.
Exactly.
Now, let's talk about a more recent development, their acquisition of a majority stake in Jack's Flight Club back in 2020. What was the thinking behind that?
That was a strategic move to tap into the kind of booming budget travel niche.
Go.
Jack's Flight Club was already incredibly popular
Right.
with travelers looking for amazing flight deals, and it also gave them insight into a successful subscription model.
Ah, so maybe a glimpse into Travelzoo's future.
Possibly.
Are they planning to expand their own subscription services?
It's a real possibility. I mean, they see the potential in creating a more predictable revenue stream and offering exclusive deals to, a dedicated subscriber base.
Right.
They seem to be taking notes from Jack's Flight Club and considering how to apply those learnings to their own, more established audience.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah,
That makes sense.
yeah.
But it also makes you wonder how their existing audience, who are, used to those free top 20 deals,
Right.
might react to a paid subscription model.
It's a valid point. The challenge for them will be finding that right balance
Yeah.
between free content and premium offerings that provide enough value to justify a subscription fee.
So enticing their loyal followers without, alienating them.
Exactly.
But let's be realistic, they're not operating in a vacuum.
Right.
How do they stack up against those massive online travel agencies like Expedia and Booking.com?
It's a fiercely competitive landscape.
Yeah,
Those companies have huge marketing budgets and dominate search results.
cool.
But Travelzoo's strength lies in their curated approach and trusted brand.
Okay,
They're not about overwhelming you with options. They're about providing quality
right.
over quantity. Think of it this way.
Okay.
Expedia is like a vast supermarket with endless aisles, while Travelzoo is like that charming local grocery store with the hand-picked selections.
I like that analogy. It
Yeah.
really captures the difference in their approach.
Yeah.
It's about focusing on a specific type of traveler who values a more curated experience.
Exactly.
Now, let's move on to the topic that probably has everyone on the edge of their seats.
Okay.
Travelzoo Meta.
Yeah. What exactly is this metaverse adventure they've embarked on? Well, Travelzoo Meta is basically their way of creating metaverse-based travel experiences.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a pretty bold move.
Yeah.
I mean, considering, how early it still is in the whole metaverse development thing.
Right. I'm curious what sparked their interest in the metaverse. Like, what potential did they see there?
Well, it's all about offering like a new dimension
Okay.
to travel experiences.
Yeah.
Imagine, attending a virtual travel expo right from your living room.
Oh.
Or even exploring like a hotel in 3D before you book.
Wow.
Or even going on a simulated safari.
So they're taking the idea of like curated travel experiences and kind of translating that into this virtual realm.
Exactly.
Okay.
And for travel providers,
Yeah.
it opens up all these new avenues
Yeah.
for engaging potential customers.
Right.
So instead of just static photos and reviews,
Yeah.
imagine interacting with destinations in a truly immersive way.
That's a really interesting concept. I mean, it could be a game changer
Yeah.
for both travelers and the travel industry, but let's not get ahead of ourselves.
Right.
What are some concrete examples of how Travelzoo Meta could actually work in practice?
Okay, so picture this. You're considering a trip to Tuscany,
Okay.
right? Through Travelzoo Meta, you could virtually stroll through like the vineyards.
Oh, wow.
Maybe take a cooking class.
That sounds amazing.
Or even sample some wines,
Okay.
all from your own home.
Okay, I'm sold. Sign me up for that virtual wine tasting.
But seriously, those are some compelling examples.
Yeah.
But is their audience who, seem to love the simplicity of that top 20 newsletter, are they ready for such a technological leap?
That's the big question, isn't it? Will their core user base, who are perhaps a little less tech savvy,
Right.
embrace the metaverse? I mean, it's a gamble.
Yeah, it is. And what about the cost? I mean, developing these metaverse experiences can't be cheap.
Oh, absolutely not.
Right. It requires significant investment, in technology and expertise.
Right.
And there's no guarantee of return, and the metaverse is still unproven territory.
Yeah.
And it's entirely possible that, it might not become the mainstream phenomenon, some predict.
So it's a high-risk, high-reward kind of venture.
Exactly.
It's fascinating to see Travelzoo, a company with, such a long history
Yeah.
in such a traditional online space,
Mm-hmm.
taking such a leap of faith.
It speaks to their willingness to adapt
Yeah.
and evolve,
Right.
which is, crucial in this fast-paced world of technology.
Right.
But let's not forget about the other growth opportunities and
Sure.
challenges they face. We touched on the potential of expanding their subscription services.
Right.
It's inspired by Jack's Flight Club. But
Yeah.
do you think their audience is ready to pay
Yeah, that's
for what they're used to getting for free?
that's a tricky balance. They'll
Yeah.
need to offer genuinely compelling value to justify that, fee, maybe exclusive access to premium deals or like personalized travel planning or even those metaverse experiences.
Exactly. And they'll need to be mindful of not, alienating their loyal user base
Right.
who are so accustomed to that free content.
Right.
It's a tough balance to strike.
Speaking of tightrope walks, let's talk about their licensing strategy.
Okay.
In the Asia-Pacific region, they moved away from like direct operations
Right.
to a licensing model. That seems like a pretty significant shift.
It was a strategic decision to, reduce overhead costs
Okay.
while still maintaining a presence in those crucial markets.
Okay.
So essentially, they've partnered with local companies
Got it.
who, have a better understanding
Great.
of the nuances of those specific markets.
So they're leveraging local expertise
Exactly.
while minimizing their own financial exposure.
Right. It's a smart way to navigate, such a complex and diverse region.
It also gives them the flexibility to potentially reacquire those markets.
Yeah, exactly.
If those licensing partnerships prove successful, so they're keeping their options open.
They're keeping their options open.
That's a savvy approach,
Mm-hmm.
but let's be honest, no matter how strategic they are,
Right.
they still face intense competition.
Huge competition.
How can they stand out in a market dominated by giants like Expedia and Booking.com?
You're absolutely right. Competing with those behemoths is no easy feat,
Right.
but their focus on those curated experiences
Yeah.
and their reputation for trust,
Okay.
I think, could be their differentiating factors.
Okay.
People are just increasingly overwhelmed
Right.
by choice. So Travelzoo's, curated approach, offering that selection of hand-picked deals,
Yeah.
might really resonate with travelers seeking, simplicity
Right.
and reliability.
It's like being that trusted advisor
Exactly.
in a sea of just like information overload.
Yeah, and they can leverage their loyal subscriber base.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is a valuable asset in
Makes
itself.
sense. And what about, keeping up with this ever-evolving digital landscape?
Yeah.
How do they stay relevant to, younger,
Right.
more tech-savvy travelers?
That's where their adaptability is truly tested.
right.
I mean, they need to embrace mobile-first experiences,
Right.
leverage social media effectively,
Wow.
and really personalize their offerings to cater to, different traveler demographics.
It's about meeting travelers where they are,
Exactly.
not expecting them to come to Travelzoo in the same way they did 20 years ago.
Precisely. It's about evolving with the times and embracing those new technologies while staying true to their core values.
That brings us to an interesting point.
Yeah.
We talked about the founder, Ralph Bartel,
Right.
owning like a significant portion of the company's shares.
Mm-hmm.
How does that impact their growth strategy and their ability to adapt to these challenges?
That's a crucial consideration.
While, Bartel's ownership shows strong commitment to the company,
Yeah.
it can also potentially limit the influence of other shareholders
Okay.
and make the company less attractive to, outside investors
Right.
who are seeking more control.
So it's a double-edged sword.
It is.
On one hand, it provides stability and a clear vision.
Right.
But on the other, it might hinder their ability to like quickly adapt
Yeah.
and make bold moves.
Yeah. And then there's, always the economic uncertainty.
Of course.
I mean, travel is a discretionary expense, so any, economic downturn could really impact their bottom line.
They're at the mercy of global events and economic trends,
Totally.
which are, often unpredictable.
Yeah.
So they need to be prepared for those inevitable, fluctuations.
It's about having a strong financial foundation to weather those storms
Right.
and a flexible strategy to adjust to changing travel patterns.
So it sounds like Travelzoo is at a fascinating crossroads.
It really is.
They have a strong legacy built on trust and curation, but they also face a rapidly evolving digital landscape
Right.
and fierce competition. It really makes you wonder, can Travelzoo, a company, built on email newsletters and curated deals,
Right.
truly thrive in this new world of like
It's true.
instant gratification and algorithm-driven recommendations
Right.
and these immersive digital experiences?
That is the big question, isn't it?
It is.
It's almost like asking if, a
Yeah.
vintage bookstore can survive in the age of ebooks
Yeah.
and online retailers. And
Yeah.
honestly, the answer isn't so simple.
But they've shown a willingness to adapt, right? I mean,
Yeah, they have.
they're not just clinging to the past.
Well.
They're experimenting with the metaverse. They're exploring these subscriptions, and they're expanding their reach through those strategic partnerships.
Exactly. And that willingness to evolve, while staying true to those core values
Yeah.
is what I find so fascinating.
Yeah.
In a world that is just saturated with choices,
Right.
Travelzoo's commitment to quality, curation, and trust might be their, biggest strength.
It's like they're that trusted friend
Yeah.
who always knows the best, hidden gems.
Totally.
Whether it's that, charming local restaurant
Mm-hmm.
or an incredible travel deal.
That's a great analogy.
Yeah.
And that personal touch, that sense of trust.
Yeah.
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 That's something that algorithms and mass marketing just can't replicate.
They can't.
No.
So what does the future hold for Travelzoo? Can they, navigate these challenges
It's tough to say.
and carve out a lasting space for themselves?
I mean, only time will tell, right? But I think their success will hinge on their ability to strike that delicate balance.
Right.
They need to embrace these new technologies
Right.
and adapt to these changing consumer behaviors without alienating their loyal user base.
Yeah, it's like walking a tightrope
It is.
between innovation and tradition.
Exactly. And for those of you listening, you know, keep an eye on Travelzoo, see
Right.
how they evolve, see how they engage with you,
Right.
and whether their forays into these, new realms like the metaverse
Yeah.
resonate with your travel aspirations.
Yeah, it's a story that's far from over.
Totally.
And it'll be interesting to see, how it unfolds.
Definitely.
This has been an incredible deep dive, I think,
Yeah.
into a company that has weathered the storms of the internet for like over 2 decades.
And who knows, maybe I'll still be around to guide us through, virtual travel adventures in the
Oh,
metaverse decades from now.
that would be quite a journey.
That would be amazing.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today
Yeah, thanks for having me.
for this deep dive into the world of Travelzoo.
Of course.
We hope you found it insightful
Yeah.
and maybe even sparked your curiosity
Hmm.
to explore further.
Absolutely.
Until next time.
See ya.